Welcome back to Morsels and Motors, and you join me today to do a little vlog about my Metro and all the things that I've been doing to it over the past couple of weeks to improve it and get it on the road. So let's give you a little tour of all the things I've done. The most important thing that I've managed to do is to reinstate the stripe, or the coach line that runs across the side of the car on both sides. It's actually a silvery grey, but against the navy blue of the car it tends to look white, but the silver grey is correct. I've looked at quite a few pictures, so that is definitely the right colour to have. I think it's given the car back its I don't know, the correct shape and its personality. It looked very plain without the stripe, and as I think I said in my previous video, it should definitely have one. It's a Metro standard, and what the standard had above the city was a coach line, so definitely got to have it. The other exciting development is I've replaced the boot struts, which means the boot actually opens. Hooray! I have also fitted rear mud flaps, which was actually a really difficult job, because I worked out that actually the mud flaps had to be riveted in, so I had to go and buy a rivet gun, and also that British Leyland only gave you 2 pre-drilled holes with blocking rivets in them, or blanking rivets in them, and you had to drill the third one yourself, which was a little bit nerve-wracking, but I did it. Eagle-eyed viewers will also notice that the tow bar has disappeared. One of the first jobs I did, actually. I don't know whether you can see, but I also spent a day with a friend doing some rust proofing along kind of the bottom bits of the car, so you can see there's a bit of black there, which is actually some hammerite. We rubbed down and cleaned up a few just small little patches of surface rust here and there all over the car, that hopefully will protect it for the future. Also some little touches just to smarten it up. I've replaced the front number plate screw covers. They were broken and cracked, and the screws were showing, so I've replaced them with some nice new white ones. Another fun detail is I've fitted one of its old tax discs that came with the car. I've been busy inside the car as well, so some of the things I've done in here are fit the correct British Leyland or Austin Rover radio. That should be for the car. It's a Motorola radio. The radio that was in it before was older. It looked like it was from the 70s and it was a radio mobile, but for 83 in the standard it was this particular radio I can see in the brochure, and luckily I managed to find one on eBay, so I fitted that and it works really well. I've also been doing some cleaning, so I've cleaned the floor mats, although it's actually not entirely apparent that I have. I bought a steering lock for the car. There's the rear floor mat, nicely clean. Excuse my bright green shoes. There was a biro stain on the rear seat, which you can just about still see, so I need to work on that a little bit more. I might take the seat cover off and wash it if I'm feeling brave one day. I'd also noticed that this little headrest clip was broken. It was standing up, and when I took it out it had actually snapped in half, so amazingly there was one on eBay, so I bought that and replaced it. It was an absolute pig to get the bottom half of the old one out of the chair, and I actually had to take the seat out of the car and reach up take the cover off the bottom and reach up from underneath to get it out, but I'm very happy I got it out. However, if you have a look at the passenger seat, you'll see that there are some nice blanking plugs for the headrest holes, but they're missing from the driver's seat. I can't find them, but I have managed to get a set of beige ones, so I'm thinking I could paint them potentially, but I think it's going to be very difficult to get a colour match, but I thought I would buy them anyway and have a go and see. One day maybe blue ones will come up, who knows. The main other task I've done inside the car is just to clean it. There was, if you remember, a little clock that someone had stuck to the dashboard, so I've taken that off and cleaned everything up beneath it. Also the sun visors, they were really dirty, so I've taken them out and cleaned them up, and they've come out really nicely now. In terms of mechanical jobs, I've actually done quite a few, but the main one has been to take out the fuel tank. I'll show you a little picture now of the car up on its axle stands, but I had to take out the bolts for one side of the subframe in order to lower the subframe down enough to get the fuel tank out. We took the tank out and swilled it out several times to clean out a load of gunk. The reason I did that is that I figured out as soon as I put some fuel in the car basically just conked out straight away. So I thought, oh dear, there's some gunk in the fuel tank, so we took it out. However, as is often the case with these sorts of things, that wasn't really the problem. The problem was actually the carburettor itself having a piece of fuel line lodged in the intake pipe, because I swapped the fuel hoses, the rubber ones that go to the carburettor, and noticed that one of the hoses, the one that actually went from the fuel pump to the carburettor, that had deteriorated inside its kind of coating. It had an exterior sort of rubber sheath, but inside the actual rubber hose itself had broken in a couple of places, and so clearly a tiny little bit of that had gone in. Actually, it's quite big. It's maybe about a centimetre long actually, and had wedged itself inside the carburettor intake pipe. I've also done quite a bit of engine work, so I have flushed the coolant because that looked disgusting. So I've drained it all out, flushed it through with a hose pipe, the radiator and the engine block, and then filled it back up again. You'll notice in the engine bay I've replaced the battery with a brand new Lucas Classic one, which now actually manages to crank the car more than about 5 times before dying. And I've also replaced the thermostat and its gaskets, and I have replaced the water pump, just because I want this car not to overheat. So after doing the changing the air filter, which is an extremely easy job, I was going to progress and do the points, change those, change the spark plugs, change the distributor cap, all those sorts of things. I didn't get very far. I changed the spark plugs. That was easy to do, of course, but I found it very difficult to turn the engine in order to adjust the points, until somebody pointed out to me that what you needed to do was move the car forwards and backwards in 4th gear, which sounds nuts. I didn't think you could do that, but that is what you do on an A-series car, because it's impossible to turn the engine by hand. Because of the way the crank nut is located. I can't get a socket on it and I can't get a spanner on it. But if you put the car in 4th, rock it backwards and forwards gently, then you'll see the points turn. So I'd set it all up fine, took it for a drive. Everything was brilliant. The car ran beautifully. I was really happy. I booked it in to have the hydrogas pumped up a couple of days later. On the day the hydrogas being pumped up came to start the car, nothing. It wouldn't fire, and when it did fire it sounded like a bag of nails. It sounded horrendous. Well, essentially it sounded like it was misfiring quite badly. So I had to cancel my hydrogas appointment and try and diagnose what had gone wrong. I think what had gone wrong was that when I replaced the condenser, I had accidentally put the distributor cap back on incorrectly. I'd trapped a wire underneath the cap, and so it wasn't seated properly. So when I next started the car, the rotor arm was only igniting 2 of the contacts, not the 2 bottom ones. I noticed that it had made 2 holes in the distributor cap, unbelievably, which is why it was misfiring. Replaced the distributor cap, but it still wasn't working. So I think that the my problem that I caused has done some more damage than I thought. So it's possibly fried the points or broken the condenser, or I don't know. Anyway, I've actually done a step that I was intending to do anyway at some point, which was to do an electronic ignition conversion. So I have ordered a new electronic ignition kit, which should be arriving tomorrow. So I will fit that, and hopefully that will make the car run beautifully. I know I'm a stickler for originality, but I'm also a stickler for not breaking down. And I've got electronic ignition in the green 345, and I really like it. It's made the car much more reliable. starts every single time without any difficulty. It runs smoothly, it's fast, it's the fastest 340 I've driven. So I thought it was a no-brainer just fitting it to this car, and that will cure hopefully all the reliability issues with this car, and then I can drive it and get the hydrogas pumped up. Happy days. I mentioned that this is a Mark 1 Metro standard trim, but actually this car's had a couple of upgrades above standard trim at some point in its life. And as I think I said in the last video, it was owned by somebody who worked at the BL dealership from which it came. So I think they've managed to get on a few extras that it shouldn't have. So one of those is here, which is a brake servo. 1 litre standards definitely did not have a brake servo in 1983. They did get them in 1984, but not 83. So that's an extra. I'm not going to be removing it because I think servo-assisted brakes is probably a sensible thing. Here are another couple of upgrades that this car has above standard trim, which is a passenger door mirror, which it shouldn't have, and side indicator repeaters on the wings. It should just have solid orange plastic reflectors, but these are proper indicator repeaters with bulbs in them. I think it was only something like HLE trim above that got those, but someone's fitted them to this. The car's been fitted with a left-hand rear fog light as well. It should actually have a blanking plate on that left one there. A rear wiper. It doesn't have a rear washer, but it does have the wiper. And as a consequence of the rear wiper, somebody has, I think, replaced this entire switch panel in order to get a switch for the rear wiper, which is just that last one there. But what that means is that the car also has a switch for front fog lights, which doesn't do anything. That's really strange. And I know that this whole panel is wrong for the car, is from a different model to the car, because it lights up at night. It's got a bulb that lights up the little switches from above. And again, standard trim shouldn't have that. It should be entirely unlit because, you know, poverty. The final little upgrade the car has had is the tyres. They're actually 155/70 12s, and those are again should be on a 1.3. This should have 135/80s, and I think that's what I'm going to put on the car when it comes to the time to get some new tyres, which will be shortly, hopefully. Right, I think that's it for today. Thank you for joining me for this slightly vlog style video. I hopefully will have an update in the next couple of weeks once I've fitted the electronic ignition system, and hopefully that means I can drive the car properly. A few jobs left to do, exhaust pipe, which is not easy to find on a Metro Mark 1. Another thing I want to do is do a carburettor service. There are kits that I can buy that I can take the carburettor apart and fit new bits into it and clean it all up, so I will do that. I did take the carburettor off the car when I had to fix that fuel issue, the bit of pipe lodged inside the carburettor, so I gave it a good clean with some carburettor cleaner, but I think a proper service with new seals and gaskets and a new jet and that sort of thing should get it working back to tip-top condition. I also think it's probably out of adjustment slightly because the spark plugs are really black, but I'll leave that for another day. As long as the car runs at some point, I'll be happy. So that's it. Thanks very much for joining me. Take care, stay safe, and see you soon.